Good morning. This is Shelly Brownell, one of the directors for Cornerstone in the Cincinnati office. And we are going to get started right away with the presentation and kind of forego some of our beginning slides that you have become accustomed to hearing from us. We still have a lot of folks logging in, so they'll just have to catch up. Today, as you know, we have Nexben as our guest. This is a very intentional decision to partner with Nexben at Cornerstone. We vetted out and have had experience with other vendors, but we feel that Nexben is going to bring a great solution for our Cornerstone broker partners when they find themselves selling an individual ICHRA to a group. Some of the things that we will continue to just remind you of. We have a lot of folks joining us this morning, so we'll ask you to put all of your questions in the question box, and we will get to as many of those as we can at the end. We've been shortening this format, as you know, to 30 minutes for our webinars in the Employee Benefits Division. I will tell you right now, we are going to go over that time limit, so we hope that you can remain with us today and hear everything until the finish, which we're going to end with how to get a quote and what to expect on the Cornerstone side. So type those questions in, box right there. I'm Shelly Brownell, as I mentioned before, and we're going to turn it right over to Anna Kuzara and Casey Baxo from Nexben. They're going to go over some ICHRA principles and then start right in on a demo. So take it away.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Shelly. Thank you everyone for being here today. We are going to start. There we go. Today we're going to go over an overview of what ICHRA is, or ICHRA at a glance, as we like to say. We will then cover, we'll walk through a Nexben platform demo. We will walk through resources for the Cornerstone ICHRA Marketplace, and then we will cover any questions that you have.
Anna, I think you're still stuck out of the slideshow mode. You're not in the slideshow mode. You might want to flip that.
It's showing on my computer it is, so let's try. Do you have yours up?
Yeah.
Is it showing?
This is what I didn't go to.
All right. For whatever reason, it's not showing that. Or at least, yeah. I mean,
down
I think
at the
we can
bottom,
scroll.
would it? Yeah.
But if I go into the presentation,
okay,
it's staying still. So I'll make that screen as big as we can.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So as I mentioned, the agenda today, we covered introductions. We will walk through ICHRA at a glance. Through that, we will also cover the differences between the way Nexben administrates ICHRA and the way that others may. We will then have Casey will walk us through a Nexben platform demonstration. And then we will cover the Cornerstone ICHRA Marketplace and conclude with any questions.
Perfect. So we'll do ICHRA at a glance here, a little overview and history around ICHRA. So ICHRA was brand new in January 1st of 2020. There's been a kind of a history of legislation trying to get this passed, and officially January 1st, 2020 was the first ICHRAs. History about Nexben is we started as a individual quoting platform. We then expanded into the group market by doing small group quoting, ben admin, major medical, as well as ancillary products. When we found out the ICHRA was going to be passed, we found that that was going to be a perfect fit for our background with individual products, the group administration, and we found a great way, we believe industry leading, on how the payment processing works. and we'll touch into that a little later. So what is an ICHRA? It's an individual coverage HRA, and it allows employers to fund tax-free health benefits with individual policies. This works for groups of any size. We will touch on kind of what we found our sweet spot is in industries, and it allows employers to use defined contribution to contribute to 11 different classes. Some of the benefits. So the ones that stand out are an expanded access. So there's the ability for employees to select any carrier that is available in their zip code and their market. So they're getting the hospital systems and coverage that fits their needs. It allows the choice component of employees who want a gold plan or a very rich plan with a low deductible to take that, as well as others to maybe save and take a higher deductible in HSA, and ultimately that expanded access. Greater cost control. So with the ICHRA, there is additional ability for contributions through the 11 classes, and it allows the employer to control their costs through that defined contribution amount. Individual policies have been more stable, as history tells us right now, so we're not seeing the large increases. I touched a little bit on smarter choices. So individualized policies allow the consumers to pick the plans that they want, their doctors and network, et cetera, and portable policies. So the individual employees are the owners of those policies. If they leave that employer, they can keep that policy. And on average, for cost control, we're seeing 20 to as high as 65% savings compared to their traditional group plan. The Nexben platform, we have an all-in-one marketplace platform. We'll start at the top here, and this kind of follows the sales cycle, but the important components to it. So we have a quoting system. We have a database of over 1 million different products. This is in all 50 states. Both small group and individual products are available on there. You can easily run these quotes, convert into proposals, and send out paperless proposals to clients to interact with. The proposal component is a side-by-side shopping comparison. Like I said, the employer can go through, model different contribution strategies, interact with that proposal in a way that you cannot on paper. So we're seeing a lot of benefits there. The selection process is very easy for both the employer and employees. So there's a great intuitive shopping experience. I will show that in the demo. We have our billing component, which I talked about being what makes our ICHRA leading class. It keeps the employer paying for the premium using pre-tax dollars and payroll deductions instead of using a traditional reimbursement model like a lot of ICHRAs out there are doing today. So we have consolidated billing, real-time payments, and a full reconciliation on those premium payments. And lastly, a manage. So there's smart HR tools that allow some efficiencies in the admin tasks, getting new hires on, terminating employees. We're not integrated into payroll, but we have reports that can send to payroll, and again, the efficiencies for the HR. So that is kind of high levels on the platform.
So next we'll move into a little bit more details of ICHRA. As different than a traditional group plan, ICHRA allows for 11 different employment classes. Employers can choose to contribute different dollar amounts to different employment classes. The 11 classes are listed here. We have full-time employees, part-time employees, seasonal and salaried and non-salaried employees, employees covered by a particular collective bargaining agreement, employees who have not satisfied a waiting period, temporary employees of staffing firms, non-resident aliens with no US-based income, employees working in the same insurance rating area, and then any combination of 2 or more of the above. We see that our current employer groups choose to contribute differently, or with these different employment classes, they are given the opportunity to provide a contribution to part-time or non-full-time employees, which opens up the benefits to a larger employment group.
And one of the key things about the employee classes is it allows for individual policies, at least on a geographic location by state, can be different premiums. So you can class out to make sure you're contributing a fair amount across the board. And we'll show a little bit more when we get to the quick quote, kind of the benefits of the classes and the contributions of those.
So here is a real life example. One of our clients, a national manufacturer with nearly 300 eligible employees, offered Nexben's ICHRA with a defined contribution approach. In comparison to the group plan offered in their previous plan year, the company realized a cost savings of nearly 30%. The employees also realized a cost savings of nearly $737 annually on average, which is a 40% reduction from their previous plan year. This company had locations all across the country in Arizona, Florida, Iowa, Minnesota, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, and Washington. So as Casey mentioned, this is just a great real life example of some of the cost savings that groups have experienced.
And a common question that we often get asked is, does that cost savings truly reflect employees saving that money or employers saving that dollar amount? And the answer is both. In this specific example, you can see there's close to $700,000 of savings. The employer did take majority of that, but the employees are also saving significant dollars on that and getting the choice of plans that they want. So there's a lot of benefits there. So additional benefits are going to be keeping that pre-tax and status and defined contribution amount. It allows groups of any size to move. We'll see some of the target demographics. Large groups with 50 plus employees with higher claims and rates. We found that sweet spot to be around 51 to 250. I think those are the ones that are a little bit more volatile and can easily find savings. Groups with participation issues. This includes high employee count, low participation in some of the industries below, hospitality, entertainment. Those are very popular. It is difficult for them to find a group plan that fits for them and is reasonably priced. So there is no participation requirement with an ICHRA. Associations, co-ops, and franchisees, groups with contribution concerns, and then state by state, small group under 50 is very popular. Those are all guaranteed issue and rated plans, so you'll know based on which state, which plans, and ICHRA is going to be very effective. Some plans individual policy, or some states have individual policies that are more. So I touched on those: hospitality, entertainment, home health care, manufacturing. Those are some of the top ones. We're not limited to those. We've seen anywhere from trucking, technology-based companies, service industry, kind of across the board. And so it's a great solution to have in your toolbox. It's not always the solution for every single group, but I think we're seeing a lot more ask about it and a lot more interest around it. So now we'll jump into a demo. And the 3 components I'm going to show on a demo today, here we go. So we have a version of our quoting, we call it our quick quote. It is a high-level quoting tool that's going to give you a comparison of the small group and individual products, or individual products with a group enrollment component to it. The next part we'll show is the employee and employer experience, just to see that shopping process. And lastly, the payment, to show how simple it is for a new group to pay. So on here, we've got our different marketplaces that you can run quotes for. We'll select our agent and group. So we'll run a quote for Dunder Mifflin here. I'll select a Ohio zip code. And then we have different products here in our marketplace that you can run quotes for. So we start with major medical. We do have a suite of ancillary products on there. You can combine those into one proposal and send out to your employer client. So I have a quote up here already. I ran this Dunder Mifflin company. This has a total of about 35 employees. We've got labels here on the ICHRA plans for individual market. We also can filter by the small group market, and those do not have that label. So in this quote, this runs 364 plan results. It's all going to be based on the zip code. So if I change that zip code, the plan offerings will change. These can be sorted by premium, deductible, and max out of pocket. I have a contribution amount in there. So I took a defined contribution amount and updated that quote. I can edit the participation of who's going to be selected in the plan. I can also add a current plan, so I can compare their 2021 plan to 2022 options, and then filter by carrier, product type, HSA eligibility, plan type, level, and network. As you know, networks are very important here. Last, we have our quote box. That's what alternates here in gray and white. We'll see the contribution amounts and total premium, some high-level details about the plan, the name. We've got additional details, find a doctor link, plan brochure, and RX lookup. The find a doctor link and RX lookup are going to be directed to the carrier site. The plan brochure is the SBC, and additional details will allow you to see a lot more than just your deductible and max out of pocket here. So as I start filtering through, I can compare plans on a side-by-side basis. So I have 2 here already selected. One, we have 2 bronze HSA plans. One's on the small group side, one's on the ICHRA market. And I will view this proposal. So while this loads, this is going to run side-by-side comparison of all the benefit summary information, your office visits, copays, prescription drug cost, testing, diagnostics, show you the age-banded rates, and a breakdown of all employees, what their costs are. As this loads, you can also see this can be emailed out to that client, downloaded to a PDF, or exported to an Excel file. We generally have seen the email as the best option, as that is still being, you can interact with that quote, and you can also track proposals through our dashboard if you're sending it in an email. The slow Wi-Fi this morning. There we go. So we've got our 2 bronze HSA plans, one on the ICHRA market, one on the small group market. As I'll scroll down, we'll see similar deductibles and max out of pockets. After that, the benefits are all 0% after deductible. And I'll get into a breakdown of the premium for all employees in this company. I can view this by contribution for employee and employer, or I can view it as total cost by employee, spouse, and child. So I always think it's really cool to see, let's find a younger employee, single. We'll take this one for example. Between these 2 plans, this is a 33-year-old. If they were on that small group market, the employer would be paying $300. Their monthly cost would be just about $200. If they picked a very similar plan on the individual market, employer still paying that $300 defined contribution amount, but this employee is now paying $53 a month. So there's a significant cost difference. If this example had even a younger employee like 26, they're only paying $2 a month for that plan versus $123. So there's dollars to be able to work with if the employer is going to save additional dollars or give that to employees. We've also seen that go into additional benefits like dental, vision, etc. At the very bottom, we'll see a total annual cost. So $373,000 versus $278. I didn't know exact apples to apples comparison on these 2 plans, but I saw 2 from the same carrier that were similar, and there's a close to $100,000 of savings for this group of 35 employees. So the purpose again of this quick quote is it allows you to tell if the ICHRA is going to be a cost-effective and beneficial option to look at. You'll be able to tell that total premium amount and also shop all individual policies to make sure that there are good plans available for all employees. Like I said, you can rerun that quote in any zip code, so you can tell in great detail of all the employees' locations. I'm going to quickly switch over to an employer account. So here we have the employer dashboard. This dashboard is going to give helpful information at the employer level. It's white labeled. They have the ability to upload their employee census, shop and look at proposals. Ultimately today we're going to touch on the enrollments and have a full summary of what's going on with all the employees. So I'll look at our full-time enrollment. There are those different classes, so you can separate those by part-time and geographic location, et cetera, to do different contribution amounts. In this summary, I can tell there are 29 employees that are full-time. There's 1 that has not started, 24 in progress, and 4 that are complete. I can send friendly reminders to these 25 to make sure they get this done in time. And I'll take someone who's in progress and show you the employee experience. Take Michael Scott. On the left-hand side, you'll see the step-by-step process, starting with our personal information. Let's change this back to 45202. That zip code for the residential address is going to determine what plans are available for the shopping experience. All the information related to this personal information section is required so that when applications are being submitted, they're going to be submitted in good order with all the information there. So I'll select who's participating in the plan, run this quote, and the employee will have a similar shopping experience to that broker, where they can sort, filter, compare plans side by side, and see ultimately that cost with the employer and contribution broken out by either monthly or pay period. All the additional links are still in there. Like I said, you can compare side by side, and I will take a random plan, add that to my employee shopping cart. Because this one is HSA eligible, I'll have the ability to contribute into an HSA plan. And you can fill out additional benefits on here like dental vision to have a full suite of products. As I wrap up the employee enrollment, I'll get to a review and submit. I can see my monthly total cost, do an e-signature for selecting the plans. We'll agree to an e-signature and submit the policies. This experience is going to be the same if they're using individual policies or small group. The biggest difference is if they're using a group plan, they're only going to see the limited group plan options. So they have a consistent experience year after year. And now this employee has submitted enrollment and is complete. If I go back to this directory page, you'll see 5 are in the completed section now. 23 are still left to be done, and I can view all the details around the employees' elections. The last 2 parts I'll show quickly. We have a full reporting system that you can run reports to upload into payroll and gather all information like the premium report and an ACA report to help with 1095C compliance, and our payments section. So as I say, the traditional ICHRA is going to use a reimbursement where the employees are selecting and paying for their premium every single month and get a reimbursement check back in the mail. That's never a great experience, especially coming from a group plan. So we have tailored our solution just like a traditional group plan, where the employer is going to look at all the bills each month. I can see who's enrolled in which plans and which carrier, and ultimately I will do pay all, and that is going to take one lump sum from the employer, and through our payment processing system with reconciliation, we will get the premium payments to the carriers for all the individual accounts on there. That saves significant time. It's a better experience and keeps that pre-tax benefit. So at a high level, that was kind of the key components we wanted to show in the live demo. I'll switch back to the PowerPoint. And we're going to touch briefly just on the process flow. Anna, you can go ahead. That one.
Yep. So this is just a high level of the pre-sale to post-sale and implementation. It kind of breaks down here with the colored arrows. You can see the responsibilities that are highlighted by Cornerstone, the broker responsibilities, and then the employer group responsibilities. This kind of gives a timeline of when each step of the implementation process needs to be complete. Unlike a traditional group plan, to implement an ICHRA, we typically recommend at least a 45-day lead time. Sometimes, depending on the group size and demographics, we recommend closer to 60 days for lead time to get a group implemented. So this is just kind of a high-level overview of each step. Around week 1, the proposal is usually sent. Week 2 to 3, we recommend having the contribution strategy decided as long as the Nexben employer application. Our Nexben employer application is very similar to a standard group or carrier group application. Around week 3 is when around the time we would recommend underwriting to be taking place. Underwriting can begin once an employer application is complete. Sorry, Casey, do you want to jump in?
And for underwriting, what we do is we underwrite for financial services to make sure that this is a legitimate company and can pay their premiums. There's not additional underwriting based on a group plan like the plan premiums. Those are all guaranteed issue and filed rates.
Correct. There's no medical history underwriting involved. Around week 4 is around the time where open enrollment can begin, as well as we typically recommend an employer implementation call. This would just highlight the employer functionalities of the Nexben platform, as Casey just walked through, how to perform any benefit administrations, add terms, deletes, payments, and reporting, as Casey covered. Week 5 is when the initial binder payment will be due. All initial binder payments are due by the 5th of the month prior to the request effective date. So for a July 1st effective date, the binder payment must be made by June 5th. That is also the date that enrollment must close. Week 5 into week 6 would be when the carrier submission begins. As we may have covered, the enrollments are not sent directly to the carrier. Once the employee completes their enrollment on the Nexben platform, there is an additional step of getting those applications sent to the carrier. And then week 6 would be completing an audit. We always like to verify that all employee applications have been sent to the carrier, as well as their individual payment being set up accurately. So this is just kind of a high-level overview. We do have materials that outline each of these steps in more detail. And for conclusions and next steps, if you want to just go to the next slide, Casey, here are some of the training and resources that we have available. We have 3 separate kits. For brokers, the most important kits that we would highlight are the Nexben Broker Pre-Sale Kit, which highlights a lot of our different sales and marketing materials, contribution guides, and then the Implementation Kit, which highlights the employer marketing and training materials and guides. On the left, or excuse me, on the right side here, we have a list of links for helpful resources, including the Cornerstone ICHRA Marketplace.
And we'll be able to send this PowerPoint out as well. And we'll jump in to any questions and pass it back over to you, Shelly.
Thank you, Casey and Anna. So first I'm going to share a couple of things and just to kind of hit some high points, and then we'll get to those questions. Jess, I may need some help with that because it's squeezing the question box right now for me. So I want to have everybody. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Here? Okay.
Yes. And for the questions,
so
there's a dotted line underneath the questions where it says send privately and send all, where you can adjust the size of that screen, just so you know.
I'm not seeing that, Jess, but
okay, and then I'll ask the questions.
We'll do that in a minute. So
okay.
If you're all looking at my screen right now, a couple of things to just highlight in the event that you didn't see that or miss this in the presentation. So the ICHRAs are an off-exchange plan. When an HRA is offered to individual employees, and because of the continual family glitch, meaning the part that was not taken care of in the law, you know, the HRA more or less negates the ability for premium tax subsidy, even when there are 10 members of the family. So these are off-exchange plans that you will be looking at. While you see that in the demo that Casey did and the quick quote gives you the capability to compare it to an ACA plan, I will tell you that at Cornerstone, we are not going to eliminate sending you ACA quote requests from the FormFire tool. You will still continue to receive those and will have the ability to compare that. We will invite you as brokers as you send quote requests to the mailboxes to participate and to sign up on the Nexben platform. We're going to enter your broker information. We'll invite you via email. Then you will have the power to look at your quotes, to look at the groups that you've entered into there. And if you so desired, you would have the ability to do quick quote or manipulation, as Casey mentioned, with those online quotes that have already been done for you. But it is our intention to quote everything for you. But I will say, ICHRA quotes are not something that we're anticipating you're going to send in and say, every time I want to see an ICHRA quote. There are situations that call for it. We are not going to be offering it as a side-by-side with every ACA quote that you send to us, because these are unique situations. I have written ICHRAs that have been on the books now for over a year and have renewed. And so there are a lot of moving parts to this, as you can see, and the audience, the group, when appropriate, certainly may go into an ICHRA. So you can anticipate that when you send in quote requests to our mailboxes, and that's how we're going to ask you to do it, to the normal mailbox in your geography, you may receive a call from a broker advisor and or one of our quoting folks, just kind of talking through what the situation is with the group. The quick quote is the kick the tires. It's based off of the employer zip code and the available plans in that county. We do realize that there are multi-state groups. There is a different quoting mechanism. Those can be quite involved. So we're not out of the gate going to be offering those. As you move closer to sale and you know a group is actually going to go down the ICHRA pathway, we absolutely can get you quotes that allow them to play with contribution. And Nexben is working to kind of make that an easier process for us. It's quite involved, but there is that capability. So I'll throw that out there, but that's not what you're going to receive on a regular basis when sending us one of these ICHRA quote requests. When someone is moving into an ICHRA, that does create an SEP, so it's not something that you're only going to do in the fall for a January 1. Of course, in our minds and for individuals and deductibles and all of those things, we seem to want to gravitate toward that January 1 effective date. However, you can do one of these at any time. When that group plan ends, it creates an SEP, as you know, and even when an ICHRA is offered for the first time, let's say it's a new prospect for you, that also creates the environment that they can enroll off cycle when we know, exchanges and open enrollments and things of that nature are closed off. So that's another important part. The financial underwriting, that is a Dun & Bradstreet report that Nexben runs, and I can tell you that while it's not frequent, there can be hiccups and things that a company may not even know is out there on their D&B report because they're not looking at it often. They've not had to do anything from a banking perspective recently, but that can prevent, because of the way the pay model works, a group from immediately getting into it if they do receive a non-passing score on that D&B. That would all be brought to your attention very early on. There is certainly the option to add consulting fees for you as a broker. We see those in the $20 to $25 PEPM. Obviously, you would want to be doing things that make you very involved with that group and the sale of that group as they move down the ICHRA pathway. And I will let you know that there's going to be a $5 PEPM platform fee. Very nominal. You can see there could be potentially huge savings. So there will be some admin costs to moving down the ICHRA path. There is a Nexben platform fee, and that does vary versus whether you as an individual broker sell the individual policies to them versus Nexben selling the policies and or using our CSU. So I will tell you, we've made a decision as Cornerstone directors with Annie and Ryan that when you have a multi-state, and that would be outside of our tri-state area and the states, and including Michigan, but if you have someone in California and Texas and et cetera, we are going to defer to Nexben to actually write those policies. So now what does it mean to write a policy? You saw Casey go in and give you a quick demo on how the individuals enroll and can compare and contrast, get assistance from you as an individual advisor, get assistance if you're using our CSU on what plans they should be selecting, not telling them what to select, but answering their questions and or our CSU. What that actually does, it's not a direct feed to that carrier, Molina, Oscar, MMO, etc. You will receive a report after all enrollment is complete, and you, the broker, you Nexben, you CSU, Cornerstone CSU, ARC, they will be actually enrolling the people in their individual policies. The employer will hold their premium contribution in that pay feature. You saw Pay Now. The employer adds their money to it and is required on the 5th of every month to make those premium payments. So there is actionable items and things administratively that you need to prepare your employer for. It's not just let them all enroll individually and now I don't have to worry about it. ICHRAs also have discrimination testing. One of our questions is 1099 employees, are they eligible? Yes, they are in the ICHRA. However, they have to be salaried or hourly employees and working for you exclusively and meet a few different rules. And obviously the whole taxation and pre-tax of their premiums isn't going to be a thing. So it works a little differently, and it's not its own separate class, but they are allowed, kind of taking care of one of the questions there. So 1094s, 1095s, it puts the employer back into more or less of a driver's seat position with that. There is a report available. You're going to want to use vendors that we either have available and can refer you to, payroll vendors if they're performing the 1095 function for that group, but they will be responsible because of the HRA nature to file 1094s and 1095s. It's a great platform in that it can take care of the affordability for an ALE, an applicable large employer. There are ways to punch in one of our quoting models, the 9.61, this year's affordability percentage, and to make sure that you are affordable for all individuals if that's what that employer so chooses. So there is just an extreme amount of capability, and I throw all of that in here at the end, not to scare you off, because I think, as Casey mentioned, we are starting to see groups kind of reach that boil over point where they can no longer afford to offer coverage. So what are they going to do, and how do you still stay engaged with that client? Hopefully it's to sell them a group sponsored benefit on the ancillary side and then move them into your new ICHRA solution with the platform that we're providing for you. So up on my screen, I do have a different census. We appreciate, we applaud, we thank all of you very, very much for conforming, if you will, to our Cornerstone census template. It does make it very easy for us to get quotes out to you quickly. However, this ICHRA is its own animal, and as you can see here, there is a separate quote template which we are going to make available to you, and we would really, really, really appreciate you putting the census into this format that allows for a quick upload and us to get these quotes out to you very timely. When there's a lot of manipulation that's required on our end, it is going to take you longer to get one of these quotes. The time frame in order to do this, we cannot stress enough, especially with the pay feature, is 60 days. And you have to be ready to make the payment on the 5th of the month prior to that, when that goes live. So if you're expecting to do an 8/1, that employer needs to be prepared to make the payments to all said carriers on July 5th. So we will tell you whether we can do your date or we can't do your date, because last thing you want to do is rush someone into it and not have the appropriate experience. So now, Jess, because I'm crazy, I can't see that, and I would appreciate if you can show me. Here's the other quote template I wanted to share with you that allows you, and you can see an ICHRA proposal where we'll have all the employees, and as I slide across, you'll be able to see, oops, that went a little haywire on me, I apologize. Try to get this back online. I don't know where it went. The summary page.
Or to the right.
Thank you, got it. It will show you some comparisons: lowest cost bronze, highest cost bronze, lowest cost silver, the fees here, the affordability tab.
So scroll to the left here at the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Casey. I couldn't even find my cursor. 70% contribution is an example. You can cap the dollar amount monthly, and then you can see here you can put in the affordability percentage and adjust that annually as necessary, because we know that does fluctuate. And then you can see the various states here, which would give all the different quotes, but this would be the summary page where you could actually determine whether you're meeting affordability, the affordability check, and this will fill with red if you're not meeting affordability for that specific individual employee. So a lot of features on the quote template for ALEs and or as you get closer to an actual sale. So Jess, could you help me out? Casey, anything you would want to add in any of those categories before we move to the questions?
I think you touched on a really important part, that the quick quote is that general interest, and this one is used in much greater detail. It is a bigger time commitment to create this quote, but it can have value. A lot of times showing the interest and understanding the concept for a group is really what sells them, and less into the specific dollar amounts of every premium. So otherwise, you knocked it out. That was a great explanation.
Thank you. And I just want to offer up that I am happy to join you as a broker on any kind of client conversations. I've kind of taken the deeper dive of all the directors, not that we all haven't seen this multiple times, but I've done a lot of the quoting, have some groups that have certainly already done this. And so I offer that up to everyone. If you think you have someone going down this path, I'm happy to join you even before we delve into formal implementation calls with Nexben, et cetera, just to answer questions and to really help your employer group think through it. So Jess, are there any other questions that I can't see there because I'm a stooge?
Yeah, we have a ton of questions actually, and I'm going to try to sift through the ones that we've already answered. The biggest question that we keep getting is the platform cost and whether the broker gets commission on health plans. And
so to reiterate that, if the broker is selling the individual health plan and you don't utilize our CSU, you would receive the commission on those individual policies that you sell. If you utilize our CSU, you know the arrangement that we already have there. And so there is that 1 year split, and then beyond that, how that all works. And so I would refer you to Jeff Beglin and or your broker advisor to discuss that in more detail. There is an option to add additional broker fees if you utilize our CSU onto this platform, and that could be in the $20, $25 range. No matter what, you're going to have the ICHRA platform fee, which is either going to be $12 if our CSU is selling that individual policy for you, $20 if Nexben is selling it for you, and then there is the $5 platform fee in general. So we'll get a cost sheet out to everybody along with the checklist and the items on this PowerPoint, the census template, et cetera, so that you can wrap your brain around that some more, but happy to have individual conversations if you're contemplating that. Jess, any other big ones that you see?
Yeah, the next one is, are family members and owners allowed to participate in an ICHRA?
So, as far as, it goes by eligible employees. So, these are individual policies. There's not anything specifically excluding them, but in an HRA, the same rules would apply as far as what the employer can contribute in those ownership categories. So we'll highlight that in a future. We have a compliance kind of session coming up, and maybe we'll throw in an ICHRA slide and just review HRAs and what the contribution can be when there is ownership in a group, and participate in the fashion as far as employer reimbursement, whether that's, and what the tax laws permit. And I'll leave it at that because that's a way involved conversation.
Okay. The next question is, can they offer fully insured to one class and ICHRA to another?
So that is permissible. So you could, in fact, have a situation where you're offering a group plan. You cannot offer both items to any one class. They have to be excluded from the offering of the group plan. And as you know, there are very few of our carriers that allow for, quote unquote, I have my rabbit ears up here, carve outs. So you're going to want to discuss those specific situations with your broker advisor, because there may not be group policies available from every carrier that would even allow for that.
Yeah, ultimately you can do that if the classes allow it, as long as a single employee is not being offered the choice between the group and the ICHRA plan.
Right.
Classes determine that. But you can have a group. We've seen it with full-time and part-time employees. It's probably the easiest or most common one.
Right. I think our minds go directly to salaried and hourly, and that's why I kind of gave that caveat. You're going to be hard-pressed to find a lot of carriers that will even allow for that, so, in the eligible definition.
All right,
Jess,
the next question is, are all the individual ACA plans available off exchange?
Well, that's a great question. So if you are not someone who works today very much in the individual market, it is a narrower class of plans offered by the carriers, different networks of doctors. You saw the great features on the Quick Quote online that you will be able to find doctors and do all of those things, as will the members be invited to do that or have the capability with those quick buttons when they're selecting their programs. But they do differ in the off exchange versus the on exchange offerings by the carriers in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. So that's a great question.
Okay. The next question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Anna, did you have something to add to that?
Just one quick thing. Sometimes there are, some states require individual policies to be written through the state exchange, even if it's an off exchange plan. So you'll run into that sometimes too, but it depends on the state and the carrier.
And I think we may have that with our new friends over in Kentucky that have resurrected their state exchange. But I'll leave that to the better experts in our CSU and Jeff Beglin. So next question, Jess.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions of what CSU stands for. If you just want.
Oh, the Client Services Unit, and that is where you would refer if you are not someone who is in the individual market and selling individual policies and don't really plan to go there, our client services unit here can take that off your hands, and it's a simple referral process. There are forms by which you do that. We would get them involved early on and let you know which of the representatives that you would work with there, and your broker advisor can assist you in introducing the client services unit to you.
All right. Another question, healthcare.gov allows you to enter your doctor and your RX information once, and the website shows you by carrier if your doctors and RX are covered. Is that feature available with Nexben, or will it have to be searched for each carrier?
Casey? I don't know if we lost Casey and Anna. I don't believe that capability is available at this point in time. So they would search for those plans that they are comparing by deductible and do that as a separate search. Good question.
Yes, as we may have covered through the demo, when an employee is making their plan selection on Nexben, they can search for their, we have find a doctor links and ARC lookups for each carrier, so that they can verify each doctor is in network, as we've talked about since these policies.
Yeah, Anna, I think they were asking, yeah, their question is there capability to enter that, like when you're putting your profile information in there to say, here's my doctors, here's my hospital, here are my medications, and the only plans that would show for you then would be ones that fulfill that requirement. And at this time, there's not that capability.
We actually have piloted a, we call it shop by doc, but the ability to enter your doctor in. We weren't 100% confident in the database, I guess, on doctors and accuracy. So we have taken that down. We're still looking into that as an improvement as we continue.
Okay, great.
All right.
Jess, any final questions that we can answer, and then we'll have to do a Q&A and get that sent out with the presentation as well.
Yeah, we've got 2 more points. Our individual expert, Jeff Beglin, also noted in the questions that Melina and CareSource are carriers that can only be sold on exchange. So that was just a follow-up to the question before.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last question is, why does it have to be off exchange only? Why can't it be on exchange but no subsidy? And it's just it's by design at this point in time. So yes, you could obviously be on exchange and ask and answer all those questions. You get an ICHRA, et cetera, and maybe Jeff can tell us more of what happens when you answer those questions in that fashion. I don't know if it allows you to move forward on the exchange, and I apologize for not being well versed in that. I'm a group girl. So Casey, do you have any insight on that?
I think the key component to that is just knowing you're not allowed to, quote unquote, double dip by getting an employer contribution and a subsidy. For some states and carriers, you have to enroll in on exchange plans. Understood.
For the subsidy to even come into play, I don't know if the exchange allows someone to answer those questions truthfully, which puts them out of the running for subsidy, and then still continue to move forward on the healthcare.gov platform so that they can select those products versus the off exchange choices. I don't know the answer to that question. I apologize.
From my experience, it has been on a per state basis. Sometimes you can bypass or select or decline a subsidy and move right to off exchange plans. What I will note is when the employee is making their plan election through the Nexben platform, they will only be shown off exchange plans. So that would kind of take away that ability to make a on exchange plan election.
Right. And I think, Casey, at some point in the future, not near future, they are exploring some of those things. But obviously, you know, that's a second generation, third generation kind of platform update because it's a state by state situation that we have there. just one final question. We'll take one more and then we'll do a Q&A for everybody.
I actually think that we covered everything. I was looking through everything, and it looks like we've answered a lot of the questions already throughout the presentation, or with your piece at the end. So I will send you the questions as well. So if there's any stragglers, you can reach out to them.
Okay, great. Well, we really appreciate everybody's time tomorrow on what is a hot topic, and we know we'll be encountering it in the future. If you have any questions, be patient with us. We still learn something every day about ICHRAs and our partners at Nexben. So reach out to your broker advisor, and we'll do everything we can to answer your questions. And if you want to explore those quick quotes, and you have a viable group, you should send those to your respective quote mailboxes, and we will get that information out to you. We'll get this census template distributed very quickly so that you can put it in the right format for us. Thanks so much for your time today, and have a great rest of the day. Thanks, Casey and Anna.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.